Hi, I'm Daniel Farrell. Welcome to the Straight Off the Street podcast. Today I'm with Augustine from Buenos Aires. I met Augustine on the street outside Draper University. Augustine is an entrepreneur focusing in biotech. And today I would love you to meet Augustine. Hello, welcome.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much for having me today. I'm very happy to share some time with you and to talk about entrepreneurial lifestyle and to share with you how we are building solution to longevity at the Hedonix Biosciences, where we provide natural and high quality ingredients to solve aging on people. So very happy to having you today after we share a lot of time in San Mateo and Draper.
I would love to start off with your childhood. What kind of gave you that entrepreneurial itch? Um, did you have any influential parents, sisters, brothers that kind of pushed you to explore? Obviously, you grew up in Argentina, so it's very different. I assume from life in America. Uh, just if you could touch on that, that would be terrific.
Yeah, well, to be honest, when I was a child, I was, raised in a very little town in the south of Buenos Aires, 6 hours from the main city in Buenos Aires province, the state, And when I was a child, I used to take apart different toys to assemble them again and build electric cars to play races. Also, I have a kiosk where we sold with my sister many sweets and different products to people that were passing by my house. So I should say that when I was from the beginning of my life, I've been like somehow related with entrepreneurial projects like that. I think my father like uh, share with me the values of creating new things. He's a farmer. He's very related to the agro industry, and farmers in Argentina are always solving problems. How to deal with taxes and how to be profitable. The condition where they involved are not so good, and so they are thinking all the time in solution on how to um, solve any kind of financial problems regarding the situation they're involved. The weather condition maybe is not helping. The taxation from the government is not helping. So they are always, having that spirit of providing new solutions. So I think that's where everything comes to start.
That's awesome. When you were little, were there any specific businesses? I know you said you built cars and resold things. Was there one that stood out to you, you to be that was very significant, or one really close to your heart?
Yes. So in addition to the kiosk, I have another one that was about selling regional products. Argentina has a variety of products that is manufactured and produced in the country. So I had many contacts on that thing, and I tried to capitalize that, and I decided to sell products from my country to any supermarket here in Buenos Aires to pay my education and studies. So later I had a couple of problems with mini supermarkets that didn't want to pay me back of the products that I have sold to them. So I decided to shut it down. But that's taught me something very crucial in entrepreneurial um, mindset, which is having the resilience to get recovered from problems. Because imagine having the opportunity to sell a very high quality product to mini supers, 20-year-old with not that much money to for your studies, and you start getting deal flow with your customers, and suddenly two of them decided not to pay you back. To me, that was very difficult at that moment, but after that, I understood the real way of doing entrepreneurial things, which is providing a solution to a market, and then getting recovered after you have a problem, because you will deal with problems every day, and you have to exercise the muscles of getting up after getting one of those. So that's helped me a lot. And I believe that a good entrepreneur turns problem into opportunities. That's some kind of a cliche, but it's a reality. In Argentina, there are plenty of challenges such as the high inflation, devaluation, and a decrease in the labor index. So we have to deal with that because that is a real thing. And these challenges have shaped my mind, my perspective on how to create new solution. And despite all these difficulties, Argentina has produced 11 unicorns. So on the one side, you have a lot of problems that not everybody knows, but on the other side, you have a country that promotes and accelerate the creation of very valuable companies. So I think that's a real example of creating problems into opportunities, and that's helped me a lot. When I understood that, I started to value the place where I am living in terms of creating new companies, because sometimes you are willing to be in the US or Europe, which are very interesting markets. But being in Argentina helped me to shape my mind in some kind of machine of running through problems and trying to see opportunities between those problems, and that's how we create solutions. That's how Adonics raised 2 years ago.
Wow, it sounds like Argentina really helped shape your view on like risk taking and innovation and competitiveness, but also having resilience and like motivation to keep pursuing your dreams, which is super like inspiring. What motivated you to come to the States? I know there was Draper University. I also saw that you study at the Stanford Persuasion Lab, or I would
Yeah.
love if you could touch on that.
Yes. Well, being at Draper was a huge opportunity for me and for Hedonix. Personally talking, I may say that I never had a previous experience in studying abroad and raising fund in other country. And and getting to that point wasn't easy to me because everything started last summer when I was at home working for different clients, and an invitation came to me and was about participating in a competition in Uruguay, 1,000 kilometers away from home. So that was pretty challenging to me because I had to manage the money to get there, the place where to live, the money to, for food and, for staying, and above all, everything at the risk of losing the opportunity because it was a competition. So once I decided to go, and somehow I solved the way how to, reduce costs and cover all the expenditure, I started working toward the business model and the business opportunity of Adonics to present it to the competition and investors. So when I got there to Uruguay, I finally got the first prize, and I got the scholarship to study to Draper. So a problem was converted into an opportunity after a hard work. So once I converted that opportunity into a prize to get to one of the best university to where to study, which is Draper University, I had to solve other problems, which is cover all the expenditure to live in San Francisco for 1 month and a half. But the opportunity of being there was amazing and huge. So somehow I had to deal with that and say, okay, let's let's work towards the opportunity and let's see how we can solve this problem of covering the expenditure, right? So I went to Draper University. I've been there for 2 months. Um, the university is an amazing place to, to ramp up your company because everything is developed in a very, synergetic ecosystem. You are there with 100 entrepreneurs from all over the world working on their business model, funding round. Your problems has is everybody's problem because everybody deal with that somehow in their entrepreneurial lifestyle, and that's amazing. It's something that boosts your thinking, the way you work, your company. At Draper, I shift a lot the way I was thinking my company and how personally thinking how to be an entrepreneur. That's amazing. That is something is very valuable to me, to every entrepreneur, being surrounded with people like you that are dealing with the same problem as you, and at the end you will find that everything is possible if you are surrounded with people that are doing something similar like you, which is doing a company. It's not for everyone. It's not so easy, and it's key to be surrounded by that kind of people. And being a draper brings a huge opportunity to promote our vision, which is helping people to have healthier life. When you get old, you are very get used to have very bad condition in your latter year of life. So what we are doing at the Adonics is providing the necessary supplements so you can have a healthier life and longevity. And based on that, we can shift our business model. We can, brainstorm with other entrepreneurs that are not involved in biotech. They are just very related with Web3, blockchain, AI, healthcare. So that is very rich to everyone. So being a draper was like a boosting tool to empower the way I think being an entrepreneur. And also, it gives me a lot of tools to empower the business model of Hedonix. Because when you start building a biotech company, you have to think a 1 billion company. But when you are going to Draper, you have to think a 100 billion company or a 1,000 billion company, because that's the way they think, and they teach you how to think that way. And the good thing here is like you don't think it's impossible. That's crazy. Being here, surrounded with my family, with my scholar friends, thinking about a billion company is sounds very weird. But at Draper, thinking about the 1,000 billion company is the mainstream. You have to think that way. That is priceless to me.
It sounds like being at Draper University, surrounded by so many entrepreneurs, really has helped scale Adonics. Is there any specific like stories that you've had like help from other Draper universities, some like collabs? Also, I would love to know more about kind of the mission. It would be great if you could touch on that.
Yes, of course. So I have many stories. Imagine we have been like living together for 2 months, but I have right now the picture of being sleeping on the floor. In front of the university, you have like a big building with a co-work space. And somehow we have access to that, but somehow we don't have a lot of permission to be there all the time. But somehow I got the key of that place, and I set my office there in the basement, and people from Draper was very happy to see me there, but somehow they was wondering how the heck you got your office here. And if you go there right now, it might be there today. It was on the corner, and I put all the whiteboards, and I built a block with the desk, with all surrounded with whiteboards, because I like to walk, and write on the wall, on the whiteboards, and think while I was walking. So I remember being there like 2 a.m. in the morning, working and sleeping. Like I was working like two hours working, 1 hour sleeping, 2 hours working. And 6, 7 a.m. in the morning, I remember one of the Draper University staff entering to the space. I was saying, "What the fuck are you doing here right now?" It was very early in the morning, And then I am shifting my business model. I am thinking about how to connect this and this, blah blah blah. And that was very good fun because that was a story of the of the cohort, how I found Agustín sleeping and working in the during the weekend. The other story, good story, which is very good one, is a picture of having six people in front of me, a whiteboard on my right hand side, and me sit on the floor. Those people was teaching me how venture capital and investor think. You know, you have many investor in the market, many venture capital. You have to work with the people. You have a good fit, emotional fit, because they are going to be your brothers during your company's life. So we were talking about that, which was about the cultural thing. We always talk about money, cap table, and technical stuff, but at the end, it's all about people. Business is all about people. That is a very solid concept that people should understand, I think, because at the end, we are working, living, and dealing with people. Forget about the business concept, forget about your company, forget about the technical thing. You are dealing with people all the time. So in that moment, we were talking about how venture capital and investor think and behave with companies. So we were sharing our personal experiences with that. And that was very interesting because show me the power of network, the power of community, the power of value, the power of people. That was very good because we were having a party that night and we all decided not to go because of that conversation that we were having was very enrichment to us.
No, I know when I went to Draper and I met you, you were networking and then I believe there was some like going away party because you were going back to Buenos Aires and I know I think if I'm correct, you didn't go because you went to some VC networking event. Is that right?
Yes, yes, of course, of course. You know, there are many people in the cohort, and not all has the same objectives or goals in the program. When I met you, you were sorry, I had to say this to the audience, but you were like seeing through the bench, and I saw you there, like looking, like spying. I don't know what you were doing. You were curious. It was a good behavior. And I say, hey, what are you doing? Why don't you come in? So we opened the door and you came in, and we talked a little bit, and you share your vision, what you were doing there. Um, I don't know if you could accomplish that, but we mentioned something about talking with people from Draper cohort, so you can make interviews and you can open your or you can start your podcast project, something like that.
No, definitely. And just to paint a further picture for the audience, there's the Draper University, which is just like this building, and the doors were locked. And I went around to the other side, and there was this like big fence. It was maybe like 10 feet. And I was like looking in, and I was like,
Yeah,
then I think I called out. I was like, "Hello, like, do you guys go to Draper?" Like whatever
yeah,
redundant question, but yeah, it was so cool, and like you were working, and just to see like, and I think you walked me around and all the bean bags inside, and it seems like just such a place, and like obviously sleeping on the floors, what like sounds like your average like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk story, like staying up to like 3 4 a.m. Yeah, it just sounds like such a great environment to grow as an entrepreneur and being surrounded with people like with such like the same mindset of like being a go getter and going out. Were there any like setbacks or specific things that had you like up till 4 a.m. in the morning or like had like pulled all nighters over?
Yes, having problems to me is like uh, it's a common thing. Like I'm always dealing with problems of any kind, operational problems, like team disagreements, strategic thinking. With Adonics, we have won several awards and grants that allow us to, receive funding, mentorship, and gain exposure. That's a good tool, to gain, confidence on you, because when you are building something from scratch, from a mind idea, you have to crystallize everything, and the first thing that you deal with is like it's not a good idea, it's not a good project, it's not a good strategy, so somehow you have to gain confidence. I think that as an entrepreneur you have to gain a, a personal tool on how to deal with that kind of situation, because otherwise you are not prepared to build a company. I'm not saying I have all the tools, but it's something that I have been learning in these years of experience. When, you know, a good way to deal with this kind of situation where you're not comfortable with is having a good team, which is supportive, which is a safe place for you to talk any kind of topics. Beyond all the discrepancy that may appear in the team, it's important to have a safe place with your team. And it's important for that to build confidence, trust, to share, uncomfortable experiences that you may have. And you're always dealing with uncomfortable situation, but in the path of building your company, you are like learning on how to deal that in a more agile way, And one of the things that I learned a lot is like try not to depend on someone else to get recovered. That's why it's very important to have a solid mindset, to understand how you behave, how your body, reacts in front of that situations. And because once you understand that, somehow you automatically build that the tool that may help you to recover from that situation. And for example, I am in the biotech space, and you need a lot of money. Um, and then you get the money, you spend it to get the product. And something that there was a time that the team wasn't, very energetic, like wasn't not motivated enough to, you know, to pull the project, to push the project to the boundaries of success. And I say, okay, let's build the basement of trust and confidence and self-confidence of the team. So we started to apply to competitions to say, hey guys, we are building a good solution. Um, and we could get a lot of prizes, market recognition. So you can have recognition or validation from the market because of customers, because of stakeholders, because of investors. In that point of starting building the company, we start getting validation from the market, from companies or institutions that were giving prices if your business model are good, if your idea is something that solve a real problem. And we got confidence and trust because of that. Um, Gain confidence and have your spirit of pushing and pushing is something that is very necessary in the in the construction of the company, and figure out the way how to manage that bad situation or setback is is a very necessary tool. So I encourage everyone to do so. I think it's a very good way to keep resilient.
Sounds like having a great team to support you and being there and having those open moments is very vital to success, and entering yourself into competitions where it like pushes not only like I guess the company but the team as well? Are there any like outside like mentors? Obviously, you're at Draper, and there's you're surrounded by all types
Yeah.
of helpful people. But for like the investor wise, have there been any specific stories where investors or really has helped to like pivot or shift the company?
Yes. I think that every person who is willing to build like a very deep tech based company or any kind of company should have like a couple of people or mentor that could help to walk through that path, right? And investors here or mentors are key because they already had experience that you don't, and they may have like a better perspective of the problem that you are trying to solve. In that sense, Draper University helped me a lot because besides they are involved in this kind of very effervescent ecosystem. They are all the time. I've been there for 2 or 3 months now only, but they are always working on towards in this ecosystem. They helped me a lot to to see the business from different sides, and that let me decide which one is the best um, for the Adonics because I do understand you know the place where is involved. I understand the market where I'm involved. I understand the boundaries and the opportunity that we have. Everyone will give you different kind of tools or advices that they think is the best for you. That's why it's important to have people around you that may trust you and you can trust on them that could help you to decide better or to get up quicker. In that sense, we have many people that help us. In different fields, I have people that understand much better the industry. I have much people that understand much better the human behavior. People that has experience on a specific kind of companies or different pieces that together help me a lot to make better decision, get up early, quicker, think the business from different sides. Um, I think it's key to have this support because alone we cannot. I think it's very difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible. I think it's difficult. Um, so I think it's a good way to to build your back because your my role here, our role as a team is to sell a vision. We are selling a vision. We want to build this, and we are doing these steps to get into that point. And everybody is understand that it's not easy to build something from the scratch alone. So when you get surrounded from people with people that have experience, you're not only having support, but you're also giving confidence to the markets that what you're doing is something possible and something solid.
I agree. That makes total sense. Um, can you walk us through like the pitch day at Draper? Like, did that help you prepare for fundraising? And did you have any fundraising coming into Draper University? Also, I would love to touch more on like the biotech aspect. So, at Adonics, what specifically, what aspect? I know it's longevity. Are you trying to fill in the market?
Okay, so the pitch day at Draper program was like a very transformative experience. When you think that you know everything, trust me, once you go to Draper, you understand that there are other ways to do it. Um, the first thing that they helped me a lot was to think the company as a 100 billion company and not only 1 billion company. We are not thinking about like unicorns. We are thinking about rhinos or bigger companies. So think bigger. That's the first concept. So based on that, they help me a lot to, to present something beyond my personal boundaries of thinking Adonics. Um, Emphasis on being direct, something crucial. Don't sell me the whole story. Go to the point, go straight, say it. That is something that we learn a lot at Draper. The story is crucial, but when you are pitching, go to the direct to the thing. So that helps you to, to keep the message simple and being clean on the message. Presenting to a panel of experienced investors, including Tim Draper, trust me, uh, gets you to a very uncomfortable zone because you have very experienced people in front of you. But luckily, we got a lot of training, and that training helps you a lot to, to see them as normal people, because investors are just people, you know, with a lot of experience. We have to respect that, but they are people. They have problems, they have good things, experience, and they can help you out. And then fundraising is, I think, is all about selling a vision and illustrating missed opportunities, and that's where this comes in. Because longevity is not just a good concept; it's a real problem. People are living more years. From 1990 until today, the average um, the average age that people dies raised 6 years. When we talk about the quality that of life that those people have, it's not raising, it's not better. So at the Adonics, we are aiming to that market. That means bringing to people the opportunity to have healthier life during the latter years of life. After the 50-year-old, you start going to the doctor, having, you know, uh, you have to visit the doctor, and you have a routine to control everything around your body and check if everything is working fine. Why is that? Because aging sucks and makes your body has problems inside that make promote a potential disease, a cancer, diabetes, Parkinson. Genes in your body are off, and because of aging, those genes can unlock the potential issue, the disease, the cancer, or whatever issues you may have when you get old. So our mission is to make longevity a conscious choice rather than a natural, occurrence. And that choice is based on having a healthy life, because you get the correct supplements that Edonix is developing right now. Today we are based on antioxidants. But we are thinking in opening our, portfolio to many others kind of ingredients that promote health life. And I envision Hedonix as something larger than what we are today. It's a complex issue, longevity, but it deserves to be addressed, from our various angles. Ingredients is one of them, and biological system as human body is something that is interacting with external factors all the time. One of the things that accelerate the oxidative stress is the upside factor that is reflected in our bodies. For example, getting stressed because you are getting late to a meeting is something that accelerates consistently the oxidative stress. That means that you get a older faster, and that is something that we are not taking into account in the equation when we talk about getting aged or getting older. Sometimes we directly related with the thing that we eat occasionally in our day to day. We relate getting old by not doing exercise, but there are some external factor that also affects the way we age. So when we think about hedonics, I'm thinking about every single aspect of how people get old and how our solution can bring solution to that process of getting older.
So, what would be some application uses for Adonics? Is it I forget the word. Someone told me, but it's like the DNA or um, uh, obviously for biotech you're altering, but what you're finding the natural compounds or you're creating synthetic compounds.
Yes, so basically, how we do it is we optimize non-conventional microorganisms to produce natural and high-quality ingredients. Those ingredients that we precisely selected are focuses on longevity. So our value proposition is based on these non-conventional microbes that we perfectly selected to produce the specific ingredient that we selected, and then we optimize them genetically so we can upgrade how they produce it. So we produce at better yield those ingredients, and we also manage a variety of microbes to produce um, these ingredients in a more efficient way. So how we do that is based on the biodiversity of Latin America. Latin America presents 40% of the biodiversity in terms of plants. So what we do, we learn from nature to replicate that into our microbes. That means like instead of using plants to produce the ingredient of interest, we understand how plants produce it and we replicate that instruction into our microbes. That process involves genetics, optimization, metabolomics, CRISPR, all the technical things that are involved in microbiology and genetics. Um, so how we do it is a new way of production. So we have the chemical synthesis, which is very limited, but can reduce the cost of production, but it's limited at the end. And then you have the agricultural method that is based on plants. You get extractions from plants to produce the ingredients of interest. And the third one, which is the one that Adonics develops, is based on microorganisms. Living beings trained to produce the ingredients that you want. And that's what is Adonics is doing.
Sounds very complex, but I think it makes sense. I know there's been some breakthroughs recently with AI and mapping genes and creating like with algorithms, finding new ways to unlock. Are you like utilizing that technology to in the microbe space, or is it like completely different?
No, of course, AI is something that impacts in many industries. I think all the industry have to, at the end, will use AI as a tool of leverage. Um, so at the Adonics, we are using algorithms to accelerate the exploration. Um, there are many manual processes that can be used or can be supported by AI. So in that sense, we are always developing tools in order to accelerate that process. AI to us is not a solution; it's a tool of work, and with that idea in mind, we are always thinking in how to apply it in the company, of course.
And then when you produce these microbes, is do you have a lab set up in Argentina, or where or are you in the like? I guess is it manufacturing phase? Um, and have you started like testing out, putting implementing the ingredients?
Yes. So our labs are in Argentina, but we think globally. So we are always like talking with customers and potential, partners to do different stages of the process. Um, We have in Europe, in the US, in Latin America also. We are always working towards the network generation. And so that means, like, to me, companies are not established in one place. To me, companies today needs to be established everywhere to be near the customer and to be uh, competitive in terms of cost. So in that way, we are mainly in Argentina, but we are working in many places. So that way, we are like building the ecosystem of Adonics to provide these ingredients and fight aging.
And looking towards the future, scaling wise and making Adonics into a huge monopoly, as Peter Thiel would say, is there any specific partnerships you look forward to, or ways to implement it across different, like I guess, like food sectors, or how will I see this technology implemented, your technology implemented in the next 5 years? Is it going to be in like when I go to the grocery store? Is all the products going to have photonics in it?
Yeah, thank you. So at Adonics, we are developing these ingredients that could be applied in many kind of products. So we are focusing on cosmetic and food industry. Imagine drinking a traditional fruit juice, and somehow you discover you have an antioxidant ingredient inside. So our proposal is to help, companies to provide more healthy solutions. So instead of just drinking orange juice at home, you are drinking an orange juice with a supplement inside that help you out to avoid potential issues in the future. That's the concept around Edonics. So companies connect with us because they see the opportunity there and they are looking for someone that can provide the volume that they need. At Adonics, we are working towards the escalation process, and so that is very important because if you want to help 9 billion company, you have to have the infrastructure to support that demand. So that those two industries are the main one that we are very focused on today. And the other side, we are working in that network to to have the capacity to supply these ingredients to majority of the population of the world, basically through these two kind of industries, the food and cosmetic. Why? Because they are very friendly on this concept of bringing healthier products in common daily products. So the shoes that I mentioned before is a very is something that you consume every day, right? But what if I told you that you can bring new ingredients that can you avoid potential disease in the future? So we are getting closer to that, and companies are reaching out to Adonics because they see this this need in the market.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I've also researched like gut health, and I know there's a significant, I think at Stanford, correlation between like brain function and gut health, and I think Dr. Huberman has some great like papers on that, I believe.
Yes, gut health is key here because gut is the second brain of human body. So um, if you don't take care of that, you're not taking care of yourself. Basically, it's the way how we absorb the nutrients. So it's key to keep that healthy.
Of course. I know coming from Buenos Aires to America, you've seen obviously seen the U.S. startup culture. As you are now back in Argentina, I know you are very global and always on the move. But have you seen a shift with startup culture, and has there been a global shift towards Latin America?
Yes, well, yes. The laboratory is here in Argentina, but yes, I'm always moving specifically to the US. Latin America represents, a huge opportunity, has a huge opportunity ahead, specifically in biotech sector. Um, and I am very happy to be part of that wave of opportunities and market shifting, because we are providing a great solution to the market, and we understand that there is a very interesting opportunity there. We found ourselves in a world of where science holds a great potential to solve real social problems. I think to me, science is like the technology of the next generation of solutions, and that could address a lot of solutions to huge problems, global problems. And I'm truly enthusiastic about the Adonics and being part of this transformation that is happening today. And Latin America has a huge opportunity in this way because biotech ecosystem is growing very fast. 61% of the tech startups are very related to science and biotech solution. So I'm very happy to be part of that. We are happy at Adonics to be part of that, specifically because we understand we are bringing a real solution to something that is very natural, which is aging. So I think investors are seeing Latin America as a region of opportunity, specifically in biotech and AI. AI, which is 11% of the benchmark here. And governments are allocating significant resources in deep tech. So that's speaks by itself. They are investing money in this kind of companies which are based on deep tech solution. And in that sense, I think that Latin America is bringing a better scenario for the upcoming years. And based on you mentioned the election of Argentina, we think would be an opportunity for Argentina to be interacting with the world. We are very hopeful on that.
Were there any like specific education or like skills you've developed or you've wished you like knew earlier? Maybe like coding. Obviously, you went to school for quite some time, and you went to one of the top universities in Argentina. Do you have any advice?
I think that there are many skills that are very necessary to be successful or happy. The first thing is like you have to do what you love to do. Don't push yourself to do something you are not naturally, you know, eager to do. Programming was one of the skills I wanted to learn when I was younger. That's why I co-founded a club to learn how to code that was called Data Pulpa. It's like a pool of data club. And then I
Awesome.
decided, and yeah, it was a very good one. We gather experienced people in coding with people who wants to learn how to code, and we put in the same room, and somehow we learn. But then I realized that my heart was somewhere else, and creating a startup was one of them. I have a commercial side, a very strong commercial side, so somehow I think it's very related to that. But one constant area of interest to me was the soft skills development. Of course, as a person, you always have to work more in specific soft skills than others. But as I said at the beginning, it's all about people. The world is all about people. Business is all about people. Beyond business models, value proposition, problem and solution differentiation, um, people are working with that. People is everywhere. So soft skills, I think, are a key skill to develop in every stage of your life. So I'm always working on that, understanding the different kind of psychology behind the human behavior. I'm always reading about philosophy, sorry, and what is resilient, how I can train my resilient side, how I can work or deep dive in the team management, human management, because if your teammates are in a very bad mood, maybe the product is not launching, or maybe the company is not growing, or maybe so I would recommend people to never stop learning about how to work with people, how to manage teams, how to make your team happier. It's very important to not to forget that the mood of your team is the mood of your company. So if your team is not going well, your company is not going to do well, because it's something that you have to work collectively. Um, so that is something that I am always reading about, which is very important to me.
I definitely think there's so many. I've read so many studies. I think like Ray Dalio does like a personality test for people before he like invests in them, and I think definitely having um, keeping a positive mindset and having a strong morale and guiding your team is definitely a key to success. So as we wrap up the interview, I know we touched on like as an inspiration, like your dad. Is there any other like people you looked up to? Some I don't know Argentinian like biotech or or people in your town or that
Yes,
gave you
yes, of
like
course.
guidance.
So I have many people that I admire a lot. My angel investor Facu, um, my mentor Santi Canigia, my co-founders. My co-founders are are people that I admire because of their resilience, because the learning path that they made, because the value that they have. My parents, my sisters and brothers, you know, um, people that I receive support from. Um, I'm always learning from them, and I get the support that I need when I need it. Um, it's not easy to be an entrepreneur, but as I mentioned before, when you have the people around you that can support you and give you the tools that may help you to jump over the problem or solve the problem, um, I think it's critical. I have a big list of people that I admire and I can call to to discuss a specific thing. It will take a lot of time, but it's very important. Yeah.
Lastly, if you were watching this interview, maybe from like behind your screen in I don't know Germany or Brazil or Argentina, and if you wanted to break into entrepreneurship, um, or maybe if this was like past you, would was there any specific advice you would give to like someone like me or other students?
Yes. Do what you love. Um, don't be scared of the things that you don't know. You can learn in the process. Keep moving, like the song said. Don't be static. Keep moving, keep moving. Share moments with people better than you. Um, that's how I got started with Adonics, because I met with people much better than me from other spaces, which is um, that's what's very critical. And enjoy. Always have fun. Don't forget to have fun in the process. That is an advice from Team Draper itself. Always have fun. And now I understand what he said, because life is one, and if you don't have fun in the journey, why the fuck are you doing this?
Oh man, that's I love that. Is there any other like Tim Draper advice, wisdom you want to shed upon us?
Yes, be present. He's very like he's living the moment all the time. And the other one was like explore the world with gusto and enthusiasm. That's another one. But having fun, mostly fun, is a good one, and he repeated it a lot during the program. That's an anecdote came to my mind right now. And every day when I got to the kitchen to have breakfast, I was the one who say, "Hey guys, are you having fun?" Imagine getting that at 7 a.m. People that was very sleepy say, "What the fuck are you saying?" Yeah, we are having fun, but we are sleepy as well. So yes, having fun in the process is key.
I think that's awesome, and having obviously like guiding yourself with your passion, and it's been a great conversation about like your 3 a.m. Like staying up till 3 a.m. And I think with all of that, I think that's terrific. Having fun.
Having fun and passion. Daniel, when you are passionate about what you're doing, the time or how many hours you sleep is not a problem at all. The problem is goes beyond that physical state. So sounds very cliche, but uh, do something with passion. Otherwise, why are you doing this? You don't have to respond to social requirements or social status or whatever. You have to do what you want to do, and if you can build a business around that, it's much better. But it's always important to be happy in the process, to have fun, to be passionate of what you're doing. But because at the end, you're not going to enjoy, you're not going to be happy, and that's not the purpose of life, right? So being late at 3 a.m. was very expensive to me, because the day after might be very sleepy, but I was very happy because I could move forward towards a problem or a question I wanted to answer. Um, and trust me, it's very good fun to be working in those conditions where everybody is like pushing you, to something else.
Of course, and I think you know by killing some of your own longevity by staying up really late. I think truly what you're doing is um, really going to change the world, and I look forward to um, having your product across all the industries of food and agriculture. And every time I drink my unhealthy like Coke or something, I'll be like, oh, but there's good microbes, and I think that's wonderful. And I really appreciate your time, and thank you for everything.
No problem. It was very good fun to be here and to connect with you after so many months. Um, After our first meet, there in a Draper pool, I remember your face in the fence. Very happy to be here, Daniel. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for being interested in my story and how at the Adonics we are solving the the problem of getting older, in a very healthy way. So thank you very much. I'm very open to continue our conversation in the upcoming months. Reach out to me.
Of course, and I will be sure to leave all your information below. Maybe someone who is I don't know, a venture capitalist was watching this, or someone who would love to reach out and help. It will all be down below in the show notes. Thank you for watching.